Welcome again, friends. It's wonderful quotes. It's a fantastic topic that I'll be covering in the next 30 minutes. So as we can see from what Swamiji was saying here, and I highly recommend this book, Money Magnetism. It has another name to it. I can't remember at the moment, but it's the same book. But basically he's saying that our wealth comes from our energy and our consciousness, our willingness, our openness, our dynamism, our magnetism, and all of those combined become a great magnet to draw to us what we need. And that wealth isn't only money. People think, oh, it's money, or my wealth is my home, or my wealth is my car, or my wealth is all the things I have in my house. But really, the truest wealth is to have God in your heart, to have His smile on your face, to have His consciousness within your own consciousness, to have wonderful guru bhais, friends, opportunities that come into your life, to have inspiring thoughts and ideas and inspirations. Maybe you would want to write books or write music, or it's the greatest wealth is the ability to draw into yourself as a channel great inspiration to share with other people. Whatever area it's in, it could be in your work, it could be in, as I said, music or teaching or yoga or a variety of things, or your relationships. And Master had a great axiom that I think we should keep in mind. The greater the will, the greater the flow of the energy. The greater the flow of the energy, then the greater the magnetism. So the greater, when we did those exercises today, we could feel our will was drawing in more energy. The greater the will, the greater the flow of the energy through the brain, through the body to magnetize you. The greater the energy, the greater flow of energy, the greater the magnetism. The more magnetic you are, the energy shining through your eyes, your face is magnetic, there's an aura of light around you. And the greater the magnetism, the greater the inspiration. And I would add to that, the greater whatever you need, the energy for whatever you need to come to you, the greater that is. And so as we think about prosperity, first of all, let's not think of it as just money. Let's think of it as our whole consciousness, our whole life, and we are creating that, as Swamiji so beautifully said, through our own draw, through our own magnetism, through our own, really, we create prosperity through our attunement with God, through our upliftment to be able to allow God to flow, His energy and thoughts and ideas and opportunities to flow through us to know what we need to do to make our lives more prosperous. The type of energy I'm speaking of is an expansive energy. It's not selfish, that I get it for me. I need this for myself. I need more clothes for myself or whatever. But the energy that Master was saying, talking about greater the will, greater the flow of the energy, is energy that's it's expansive. It reaches out to others. It's compassionate. It's loving. It's joyful. It's a high vibration. That's the kind of energy that flows through you as you meditate, as you do the yoga practices, as you do Kriya Yoga, as you serve, as you chant, as you come to satsangs. Your actual energy and vibration begin to change, and that becomes more outward to others. Of course, you can gain a deep reservoir within yourself, but that energy that's flowing out to the others that's really your prosperity. Is the joy that flows through, the light that flows through, the vibrations, the love that flows to others. I remember when I first went to Ananda village, I was just really struck by the amount, the degree of energy that the people had. And I was on a very low level of energy compared to them. I mean, they were racing from one thing to the other and serving, doing this and doing that, and working for long hours, serving for long hours, and meditating for long hours, and chanting for long hours. And I was on the minimum plan, just whatever I could get away with. But I noticed how much energy it took to be effective, how much energy it took to do something well. And Swamiji all along taught us how to put our full energy, full force, 100% into any project, anything that you're doing, to be able to draw the maximum from that into your life, whatever was needed from that project. And if you put out energy in that way, everything you need will come to you without you identifying, well, I need this, I need that amount of money, and my bank account is low, and my car broke down, and whatever. If you could come at it with a full force, all the energy that you need will be there, and the ideas, and I found that help. People come in with ideas, people come at different times to help with different projects that are needed. And Yoganandaji said, speaking of energy, that he said if I needed a job, I would shake up the whole world to get that job. I would look at the newspapers, go to places, talk to people, pray about it. You know, you don't sit on the couch and say, I need a job. So it's a full force energy to make yourself into a magnet to draw to you what you need. There was a time when Master, he was wanting to go on a lecture campaign, which he did often, and he needed money for that. He went to his secretary, who was, O ye of little faith, you could say it, and Master said, I'm going out on a tour. And the secretary said, well, I don't know how you're going to do that. You only have $200 in the bank. And Yoganandaji said, well, you know, I'm going. So, and so he said, Divine Mother will help us. Now, he was a dynamo, and his energy was focused, it was concentrated, it was flowing from God and all the Masters 100%. So Master was walking down the streets in San Francisco, and I'm sure maybe he had on a suit, but he certainly was Indian and looked Indian. So he dark skin, long hair, I don't know if he had on robes or what, but he was there, and a man approached him and he said, I want to help what your work is, whatever you're doing here in America. And Master said, you don't know who I am. And he kept walking. I think he was just testing Divine Mother. And the man said, yes, I know who you are. I know from your eyes. And what a beautiful answer. I know from your eyes. Like, I know from your energy level. And the man pulled out his checkbook and he wrote a check for $27,000 to Master's work. Now, how many times did that happen to you? But he had the full faith and the full energy and the full will to draw what he needed for God's work. Another time, Master Yoganandaji, he saw the headquarters that he wanted to make Self-Realization Fellowship. He saw it in a vision before he even came to America. So when he ended up on that land, he knew that that was the place that was going to be his. So it cost $65,000, and that was a lot of money then in the early 20s. I think in 1925 he was able to get the place. And so he said that he was so sure of it. I mean, I absolutely love positive thinking. I mean, with a foundation under it. But he brought all of his Southern California students onto the property, and he announced to them, without having a penny to buy it yet, he said, this place is yours. I mean, he had full faith that Divine Mother would help him. And so they had a program there, and then Master started working. He was an avatar, but he himself started working towards the goal. And he said he started to, the students, some of the students said, my God, because it was $65,000 initially, he said, my God, it'll take you 20 years to get that amount of money. And Master said, 20 years for those who think 20 years. 20 months for those who think 20 months. And they wanted the money within 3 months. He said, 3 months for those who think 3 months. And he worked towards it, and at a certain point he said he was talking to Divine Mother. Oh, at a certain point he was about to sign for that $65,000 on the contract, the deal, and he said, Divine Mother held my hand. She froze my hand because she wanted to give it to me cheaper. So I think a week or 2 days or something later, the man brought the price down to $45,000. And so Master worked at it. I mean, the thing is, you can't just say, I need it, give me to somebody, give it to me. You have to put out the energy. And the greater the will, greater the flow of energy. You have to make it happen. Be dynamic. Be positive, be energetic, and be enthusiastic, and make it happen with your own openness, of course, attuned to God, asking if this is right for me, please allow it to happen. And so Yoganandaji, he said he was battling with Divine Mother. He said, I said to her, how do you plan to give me that money? I just love that. I mean, you know, he was so sure of it, that she was going to do it, but he asked her, how do you plan to do it? He was just interested. How was she going to do it? And then he said, Divine Mother likes to keep my life interesting. And I would say that for all of us. Surely my life is very interesting that way. It's like she takes you to the 11th hour often, but then she comes through. I've never, in the 40 years I've been on this path, felt this time Divine Mother let me down. This time the masters didn't respond, not one time. And so finally all the money came in for the property, and the property became, you know, Self-Realization Fellowship Masters headquarters. And Swamiji writes in the New Path, the drama was over and the place was theirs. And I think people are afraid of drama. I mean, drama happens. Life is. And if you're afraid to try anything, nothing will ever happen. So I think we have to put ourselves out more and say, Divine Mother, here I am. If you want this to happen, I'm a channel to make it happen. I'm willing to make it happen. I will work to make it happen and use my own but God-given will, power to make it happen. So I want to go over some things that will help you in prosperity on all levels. The first is, I would say, serve other people. In your mind, transfer, change the thought of I'm getting everything for me. I go to work for me. I get my paycheck for me. I got my house for me. I got my car for me. I mean, this is just too much selfishness. We have to begin to think of other people. Swamiji said he had a relative who he said to them, what a waste to have so much money and spend it all on yourself. And the relative was one of his cousins, I think, and she said, well, that's a novel thought. I mean, it seems real ridiculous. You have all that money and you don't think of anybody else. And so, as we think of others, what I've seen in my life and my Guru Bhai's friends' lives, so much more you complete. If God gives to you, you give to others, and then God gives to you, and the energy flows, and the magnetism flows, and whatever you need comes to you, and people come to help you, and all kinds of things happen. But if you block the flow, nothing happens for you. And your energy goes down because you're not serving. Energy is not flowing through you to other people. Your income goes down. Your prosperity goes down. Your friends, number of friends, the job opportunities, the solutions, the inspiration, it all begins to dwindle. First thing, think, how can I help others? I get up every day thinking, Master, how can I help other people? And just have a prayer, just one thing a day where you're helping other people. And we have, through Paramahansa Yoganandaji Trust, we have a work in Vrindavan with the widow mothers that we've had going for a little bit over a year. And so at Christmas time and Yoganandaji's birthday, you know, particularly every year on Master's birthday, I think it's such a touching thing to offer. At least once a year, give to some charitable cause, if not much more regularly. But we have, for people who come to the center, they'll be giving, you know, a donation towards that cause. And then for Master's birthday and for Christmas, people will be able to bring some gift for one of the Guru Bhais. You know, we call it the Divine Mother gift. It's anonymous. No one knows who gave it to them. But also they bring another gift, a charity gift that we give to anybody. You know, we'll have a big box. We'll give it to people who are in need. So that's one thing to do, is think of some organization, some charitable group, somebody in need. We have a man across the street. Some of the devotees gave us jackets for all the young fellows who work for us here. And, you know, we had a couple of extra ones, and so I gave one to one of the guys to run over to give it to the iron walla. And, you know, just think of things that are just simple. It doesn't have to be big and large. It's just simply giving. Think of yourself as an open channel for the gift of God's love to others. Another way that at Ananda we practice, a monthly, we call it a tithe, and I don't know if that people do that here in India, but some monthly donation to a spiritual organization, and we give 10% of what we earn just to God, not saying I want you to build this, make this, build that house, whatever, but it's giving to Divine Mother. It's another way to help in the flow of giving. Another thing is when I receive something that Divine Mother has given me, I bought it myself or whatever, I always try to give something out, you know, give back, give other things instead of, I remember once I was visiting my mom and this was some years back, and I went in her closet and she had so many pairs of shoes. I said, Mom, why do you need all these shoes? It was like 40 pairs of shoes or something. And I said, you need to clean this out and give these to other people who will be wearing them. She said, don't talk to me about yoga right now. But I mean, look at your house, look in your closet. Have the energy moving. If you can keep things moving, there's a better flow there. Vastu-wise, it's got to be the right thing to not hoard and keep things there that don't, you know, that you can give to other people. And another thing is giving of your energy in this way. When we started our group, our center here in Gurgaon, we needed everything. And everybody, all the members came forth. Some people brought cushions for the meditation, some people brought the lights and the fans and the everything. But it made it a group effort, and a wonderful energy was created. And the second thing I would like to go over is not to cut corners. If you cut corners, people think, well, if I just, you know, over here, I'll cut this corner and I'll cut that corner, then I'll have more money. Well, I don't really think that works, particularly in the long run. I remember a fellow who was living with us in the ashram, and he went for a job interview, and the boss said it was him and another man, and they both got the job, but she said, tell me how much you made at your last job, and I'll give you that much at this job. And so our guy, you know, because I was talking to them, he was in one of the classes, and I was saying, don't be dishonest. So he said, okay, he's going to try it. So he said how much he made at his last job, and the other guy completely lied and said he made double what he made his other job. So our guy got a little amount that he said was honestly what he made, and the other guy got twice as much. So our guru bhai comes home and he's all upset. See, I told you that doesn't work. Now I got less money than him. And I said, do you think that's the end of that story? I said, you just wait. That has to have repercussions. Something has to happen. And lo and behold, within 6 months, they fired the guy. Our guy gets promoted. He gets a big raise. You know, because where there's dharma, there's always going to be victory. Another thing, I have some other things to share with you. I could talk about any of these topics for a long time, but I want to get the points in. Another thing I wanted to mention is how Swami Kriyanandaji, he always trained us in all the places I went to not to have a poverty consciousness, no matter how much or little you have. And you can imagine starting Ananda around the world. We didn't start with a lot of money. I remember when Swamiji said to me, go start something in Africa, and he never said how or with what. He just figured you would figure it out. Same with Australia, same with Italy, various places. But I always saw that as I tried, Divine Mother came through and she helped with those things. And so, And I remember times when Swamiji, and it's a very subtle point, I hope you understand this, Swamiji would, I know he was training us and he was testing us, but he would come, like when we lived in Italy, and we were making, I don't know, $20 a month or something like that. Even less. At the beginning, I mean, we were making nothing for so long. It was just completely volunteer work. And Swamiji would come, and then, you know, he would always want to take us out somewhere. And of course, we weren't going to allow him to pay. So we would take our little $20 and we would go there. But you know what I noticed? And I'm just so glad I learned this from Swamiji. It was such a gift. Because no matter what we had, he would make us stretch that. Stretch our consciousness to say, that's not who you are. You're a great soul inside. Your mother is the Divine Mother. She can give you anything you need. Don't worry. He tested people, and the people who never went, when Swamiji said, okay, let's go, and we'll go out and have dinner, and people were going, can I spend my salary on dinner? This only have $20. And every time I went, every time I said, I don't care how much or how little, I'm going and I'm going to pay for Swamiji. I mean, not by myself, but we all pay for Swamiji. Swamiji would say, you can't afford to pay for me. And I would say, yes, I can. But it was a test of, are you limited? Are you in poverty consciousness? Or are you free? And I learned that from over many years of going with Swamiji, and you know, and then if we couldn't afford it, he would, you know, he would help. But the point I want to make is the people who never went, they never expanded. They weren't happy. They got out of tune. That's what I said. I mean, I wanted to sit at that table with him. I didn't care if I had to borrow the money, because I knew he wanted us to be there and he was teaching us a lesson. And I remember one time was sort of even more humorous, that we went to an art gallery and Swamiji bought, this was in Italy, in Capri, and Swamiji bought like a lot of paintings for the Cristo Hermitage in America. And he was so excited. I mean, it was like he just loved the paintings by an artist named Odierna. And so there were maybe 6 or 8 of us, and he said to everybody, you all must buy a painting. I said, I can't afford a painting. And he was so happy about this and just telling everybody, you must get your painting, and which one are you going to get? And I'm not getting a painting. So honestly, my painting I'll show you this for size. It was half of this size. It was my painting. Swamiji had huge paintings, all various sizes, and I think this is better to show you. This was the size of my painting. And so then Swamiji went around to everybody, let me see your painting, I see your painting, and everybody got the size they could. He got to my painting, he says, what is that? That's not a painting, you can't even see it. I said, well, Swamiji, that's all I can get today. He says, get something. It's just get a painting, I'll help you. And that's what he wanted us to at least try. And he bought everybody, all of us, beautiful paintings. And good, big sizes. But I could have just said, no, I'm going to go out and find another store or whatever. But it was always just help keep the energy flowing. And boy, I just loved learning that, because now I can be free. And Divine Mother always helps no matter what. So the attitude is the most important thing in everything that we're doing. If you want to be successful, you've got to have a giving attitude, you've got to have an expansive, free attitude, and you've got to be happy about it. It's something that you're happy to do. It's not, I'm doing this for a paycheck, I'm doing this because I'm supposed to do it, I'm doing it, you know, I hope nobody sees me, I'm not going to do it with my full energy. And I read a couple of autobiographies, one of Usain Bolt, who's the fastest man in the world. He's really fun, you know. I really recommend his book. The thing I got from that was he so enjoys running. And he enjoyed it. He didn't get into running because he wanted, you know, he wanted this or he wanted money or whatever. And I read also a book on Pele, the Brazilian soccer player that everybody knows. And he just said, I'm just doing it for joy. I love what I'm doing. And if you do things for joy, then you're magnetic. And then everything else comes into place. This is what I found. If you do it because, how much are they going to give me? I mean, where's the joy in that? And so don't think of the results. Think of the energy that you put out, and that energy will draw. I remember when I first came to Ananda, I had a very good job in Palo Alto area, Mountain View exactly, but I was so unhappy. You know, it's like Swamiji says about Howard Hughes, who was one of the wealthiest people in the world at the time. And one interviewer asked him, "Well, are you happy?" He says, "No, I'm not happy." I was so unhappy, and I was making a whole lot of money, but I thought, I mean, what is it doing? It's not doing anything. And so I dropped that, and I called Swamiji. I said, "I'm free now." He says, "Okay, go up to San Francisco and help at Ananda House." So I went from that amount to $35 a month, and I was the happiest person around. I was sleeping on the floor. I went from a beautiful place I lived in. I was sleeping on the floor on a futon in a little room, and there was another girl there, and my head was up against the door. So anytime anybody came in or out, my head would sort of get hit. I was so happy there because it had nothing to do with money. It had everything to do with, I'm free now to serve, to be joyful, to give. And in that way, it's been 40 years now that I've been able to serve my guru without being attached, without saying I have to have this or where's my salary or whatever. The last thing I'll go into is having faith in God. There's a great story that I heard Swamiji tell even today as I was studying for this, and he talks about Swami Ramdas, who came from India to America. He lands up in San Francisco Harbor, and you know, just as they were about to debark from, you know, the ship, a man comes up. He says, "Well, do you have funds for your trip here?" And he says, "Oh no, not really." And he says, "Well, do you have any friends here?" He says, "Actually, I have one." And he said, "It's you." And that man ended up sponsoring Swami Ramdas's full lecture tour because he was so childlike and open that he knew Divine Mother would help him in one way or another. And he was attuned to God, though. That's the thing. If you have that attunement, then Divine Mother will help you. And Swamiji said so beautifully, Master said this, don't be a beggar, begging, I gotta have, why don't you, you know. And Swamiji said, do things with God, with Divine Mother. We're doing this together. I'm doing this with you. We're going on vacation together. Where would you like to go? When I take my days, my free days, I say, Master, what do you want to do today? We're going out together. And Swamiji told a story when he had just finished writing The Path, the Path, first edition. And he wanted to go somewhere to celebrate with Divine Mother. I just think that's so sweet. So he went and he found a hotel. He didn't have that much money, but he wanted to celebrate. And there was another place, he said it wasn't as nice, so he wanted to go with Divine Mother, so to a nice place. So he goes and he's about to open his wallet to pay the man. And they were talking a little bit, and the man says, no, don't pay me. And Swamiji said, well, I'd rather pay you, now. He didn't want to say because I don't have much money, I might not be able to pay you later. He says, well, I'll pay you. The man said, no, don't pay me at all. I mean, how many times has that happened to you? And then Swamiji said he went for his meal, and the man is talking to the man at the restaurant, the owner, and he says he goes to pay his bill. He said, no, don't pay me. You know, I like you, is what he said. And it's so sweet when you offer everything to Divine Mother instead of holding, waiting, hoping. And I think I'll leave you with this story. I think it's the best one on faith in God and doing things with Divine Mother. The two penniless boys in Brindaban story. I can't read it to you, but I'll ask you tonight if you can, read it from Autobiography of a Yogi. Because Master, like Arjuna, Arjuna chose Krishna over all of his soldiers. He chose God. If we choose God, I've never found it to fail that whatever I needed, if it was people, friends, our ashram came that way, our center came that way, our cars came that way for the ashram. It was all Divine Mother. But Master is sent out by Ananda to Vrindavan, and he's not supposed to beg, he's not supposed to take any money and all this. And I just love what he gets greeted by Gauri Ma, who gives them, I think, a 14-course meal. But you can read that on your own. But I love Master says immediately, and I'll close with this, to his brother Ananta. He says, I accept the challenge. No hesitation was in my words or in my heart. Grateful memories flashed of the instant beneficence, my healing of deadly cholera through appeal to Lahiri Mahashaya's picture, the playful gift of the 2 kites on the Lahore roof with Uma, the opportune amulet amidst my discouragement, the decisive message through the unknown Banaras Sadhu outside the compound of the Pandit's home, the vision of Divine Mother and her majestic words of love, her swift heed through Master Mahashaya to my trifling embarrassments, the last-minute guidance which materialized my high school diploma, and the ultimate boon, my living memory from the midst of lifelong dreams. Never could I admit my philosophy unequal to any tussle on the world's harsh proving grounds. Om Shanti Shanti. May these words help us all to put our faith in Divine Mother's hands for health, for wealth, for everything we need in our lives, in our attunement with her. God bless you all.